Hello, we are live from Venice. I'm sitting here with Boris Ondreička, and thanks for having us. And my first question for you is, I read an interview with you, and it made me change perspective, change my view on things. You said that counter-epistemology, so the immediately trying to make sense of the world without using scientific or reason, just reason, is the colonization of the unknown. And I really thought about this term since then. And maybe you could ask you a bit to elaborate on that, because I think that is a very, very pressing theme and a pressing issue in times where science is on attack from all different sides, left, right, center, north, everywhere. So I just want to ask this question to you.
I mean, for a bit of time, I'm busy with this question, which is called truth, and then because I mean, actually, it arrived to the territory of my interest because of this like constant repeating of this pseudo term post-truth. If there is any post-truth, there must be any truth, because post must be of something what was or what even is. And then I started to study basically mechanisms of propaganda and political linguistics in between World War I and between World War II. Then I realized that hoaxers were huge phenomena at the end of 19th century in Britain. So things which we are busy with these days are not new at all. And yes, and so the whole like communication, mediation empires in the world are trying to privatize something what is not born yet. And then you start to think like how you can resist that, how you can change it, how you can get rid of it or escape. And then there is this like Anthropocene, but actually we know 5% of the Earth, so how can we claim any anthropocenic and anthropocentric vision? I find it fragile and dangerous. So I'm interested in this, like to let unknown be unknown. And we just, from one side, from these like anthropocenic or anthropocentric positions, it sounds like skeptic or pessimist. From other, from my gangs, it sounds optimist, you know, like to let the black be black, or even to blacken more. So that's the point. But I don't know if I answer your question.
No, it's an interesting spin on what I gleaned from your text, because I think to dare to let the unknown be unknown is in a time where everything is already in a situation where light is constantly hitting it from all sides, making it like basically everything becomes a luminous object, because we are constantly enmeshed in millions of eyes watching us and trying to understand us, and ourselves trying to position ourselves somewhere. I'm this, I have this identity, I'm this and this and that. I think that maybe it's a daring act to say, I'm not going to engage in this collective understanding of ourselves, which is a misunderstanding because we will never be able to de-subjectify a view and re-objectify it, basically. And I think maybe the most objective way to see something is to actually keep it in the black, to keep it in the unknown.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, this like a humanocentric aspect of like light is, to me, is extreme mirage, you know, because this is this maximum 5% of the volume, and then you start to meditate around, I don't know, origins of life, and origins of life, they come from like dark sources where there is no light, like hydrothermal vents and, you know, black smokers and primordial sandwiches and primordial soups. And might be this is also our future habitat. So this idea of this like light, to me it's absurd, you know. So if I position myself to Afro discourses, I'm definitely Afro pessimist, and I have a lot of to do in critique of Afrofuturism or even futurism itself, you know, because futurism means not to live now. But so I'm highly, I'm very much against this like everything is visible. I mean, there's this like Big Brother eye everywhere, like Orwellian aspect. We are 5%, and what is watching us is magma, you know, the center of the Earth, and we have like no contact with it, you know. So Anthropocene is extremely exogenic theory. It deals with the surface and few kilometers of atmosphere. But I mean, yeah. I mean, even if humanity, like if humans will die, Earth will not, you know? You know, I mean, Earth does not care about such a minimum aspect of like humanity is, you know?
Yeah,
it's not dominant, you know, like there are much more mushrooms and there are much more spiders, there are much more, you know, other species than us. So we are stupid as hell, you know, like mycorrhizal cultures are somehow much more intelligent and much more creative, much more fast in communication than we are.
And if you see how small spiders, because we know that there are social spiders who can build gigantic nets, and these nets have elaborate social structures inside of them. And if you would think of maybe humans, how would they react if you would build a large super architecture like that? You become constant, you get constant Nevenhuis New Babylon.
Yes.
Which is dystopia, because everybody would, in the end, kill themselves. You have like hypercrime and all of that.
Yes.
And animals, although people have this notion of the spider as the antisocial insect that kills each other, that eats each other, it's still much more able to build a functional society, or ants, or large streams of fish. And I think the notion that we humans have as us being the pinnacle of evolution, and we don't have to engage in dehumanizing ourselves because we are already so advanced, is completely myopic.
Yes, and also there is another thing is like no one is interested in, I don't know, winter solstice, for example, but everyone is interested in Hanukkah and Christmas. Also, the human dominancy is a fiction. Is a fiction which at the end is like this desire-driven fiction is self-destructive. So we are doing these things like, I don't know, ecological destruction, whatever, because of fictitious, because of myth. So we hallucinate this reality. We hallucinate this doom, actually, If we don't, if you understand yourself as being a smaller part, quantity-wise, then you might be quality-wise not that destructive.
You're basically minimizing our own habitat while...
Or minimizing own consciousness, Like, I'm completely on Nietzsche's side in critique of Descartes, When he said, like, no, cogito ergo sum, sum ergo cogito, motherfucker, So I'm very much, speculating around this, like, sum, like, wow, sum, like, fucking cogito,
It's like there is no cogito in absolute terms, because it's always limited, and one person might have like that branch and another one that branch.
Yes.
And then we'll try to find like a common nexus where everybody still thinks that his or hers or theirs cogito is what consists of all cogito.
Yes.
And those who have another cogito, they're already like seen as limited and this shelf, and we can pat them on the back and then say, oh, nice, a doggy, and nice, a cat, oh, nice, a disabled person. But they are still not treated as people with a unique view on the world. It's very linear, how I always say. It's a linear view and understanding, and still thinking the linearity leads to being on the top of a pyramid, when it's actually more like we cut off all the other parts of the square, and then we just somewhere in the field.
Yes, but this pyramid, that's a model, So
Toy model.
That's a toy. I mean, with how when Reza started with this toy philosophy, I was like, this is beautiful, like, and it's not like about models. It's step further. It's like toys. So I mean, what is the volume, the size of I don't know, the pyramid of Giza according to the volume of the world? It's like it's a piece of sand. I mean, it's not monstrous. The monstrous is this hallucinatory narrative, which is, ego-driven, humanocentric bluff.
I see us humans thinking that the Great Wall of China is something amazing, is similar to these collecting beetles who build these small balls and then they roll them.
Yes.
And if you would think like Werner Herzog, then you
Scarabeus.
could make like a story about those two beetles thinking that they collected the dust of the gods and they can resurrect some magical thing.
Yes.
And then they will rule the world. And I think man's creation on this world is just similar to those two beetles who think that they have like the power at their palm of their hand with that like little shit bubble thing.
Yes, yes. I mean, but with this great Chinese wall, this is kind of funny example also. Like, there are few like linear structures which you can see from the universe. I mean, the human-built structures. And one thing is, of course, the Great Chinese Wall, and another is highways in Belgium. Because Belgium, they very much invested in like lightening of these highways. So you see the globe. I mean, in the night you see somewhere the Chinese Wall, and then you see this highway in Belgium. So yeah, models.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me when I was driving to the school with the school bus to school as a kid. Sometimes you would like get like little black specks on the window, and it was the flies who put their waste there, and I see the specks of light that you can see from these streets, from the sky, on the moon maybe. Similarly, it's like still don't have the possibility to build a superstructure around the sun so we can harvest this energy. And if this sun would decide tomorrow to go supernova, the human race would be just extinct with all our ideas about grandiosity and God and non-philosophy and non-religion, and all of that would be just vanished in a second, and we'd just be left with a little black place called nothingness in a big universe. They will still exist. And then the human idea of existence is completely human-centric, would just vanish to be. But it's like it's the human-centric idea of understanding is actually a disunderstanding.
Yes. No, but you know, yesterday Jeremy BBC Jackson mentioned one simple thing, like that he said, like we should understand that lives of these fishes is similar than our lives. But I will add to it also the vice versa aspect, that also we should be conscious that our lives are not that far from lives of fishes, you know. So these like lowering down, I think, you know, lowering down, blackening, no expectations, is a good method, you know. It's a good method.
If I would go to the sea and I would see some sharks, I could decide for two things. I could cut off my finger and feed it to the shark, and then eat it, or the shark could eat me. And it's still the idea that it's just a sustenance principle is often put away when we look at the reality with these romanticizing eyes as human as the pinnacle and human as also the virus, as destruction force. When it's just like we are sand in the machines of nature, but we are still a sand that is part of nature. So in some way, the machine of nature will just integrate or punk rock fight against its modalities and will implement it in some way. So I'm quite interested about how this all our human existence, especially in the ideology of the 50s and the 40s, with we can just drop atom bombs on archipelagos, we can just cut out the utera, and we can just do everything, and everything will be fine. Let's put some DDT on the floor. It's very similar to Rome coming to Carthago and putting salt on the fields.
Yes. But even worse, you know, because these, like, how can I say, like humans and chemical substances and, I don't know, biological weapons is one thing, but another thing is to build the amphitheater, you know. That's another thing. It's like you create this symbolical structure, which is a platform of the narrative, and then we go, you know. So, yeah, I mean, DDT is something what the legitimization of such a behavior, I think, comes from very poetic, you know, like dark poetic sources, I can,
But I think the human doesn't understand the autopoiesis of nature.
Yes.
Because nature is able to adapt, but we humans are not able to adapt as fast as we can destroy our own habitat. But nature will find a way to build new habitats out of the destroyed zones that we built.
Exactly, and also it's happening because I don't know, technologies are fast, technological processes is faster than linguistic process. So the need of new vocabulary is like extreme, and also production of new pseudo vocabulary is faster than standard linguistics. So this is something, and then there is nature, which is even faster.
Yeah, like you can attach the word post or pre to anything.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything in that regard, but it's still it's a good symbol for a diffuse understanding or misunderstanding of something that pertains to be an understanding, and will then like put all future understanding in the shadow, because people will start to mistrust pertained understanding, because they will say, oh, another shyster, another snake oil salesman, another person who wants to sell me a truth that is not yet to be. That
Yes, to me, this like post-truth element is a synonym of culture itself. So anything from, I don't know, usage of instruments, which is a creation of prosthesis, is already post-truth, because culture is here to fight against nature, So these post-truths, which we now, read from internet, this is like post-truth, But even that, we are pretty relaxed with using it, Like, yeah, post-truth. And we all understand each other on the basis of pseudology.
I think that the human is, in a way, at least that is my understanding, is as we are, because of our adaptability, we are the most tool-using animals on this planet. We're basically the tool-using animal. We use abstractions to do things that others, like a snake might develop in a certain way. The first snakes who had like this and then developed, but we somehow want to do everything, and then we create more and more of these delegitimizing abstractions, then become metastatical and eat up the core idea that we originally had for building it, because you can't build an abstraction on an abstraction, meaning an idea.
Yes.
And then it becomes shallow. And I think we are, as a Western culture, we are already like in a metastatical explosion. It's like we can't like stop it easily, but we still have to think about ways to stop this explosion of metastatical symbolism that we are currently witnessing since quite a long time already.
Yeah. I will only argue against like this adaptability of humankind, because there are other species which are really adaptable, like rats, weeds, microbiome, fungi, and etc. We are nothing. We have like no ability in adaptation according to those species, and I mean that's a simple also fact that these species will live after humanity, like rats. Rats will survive, Rats will survive nuclear attack, whatever. We are super sensitive, and that's why we are also so destructive, because there's like impotence in adaptability.
I honestly would love to have that as the last sentence because it's superb. Thanks a lot for having you. Thanks for this conversation. Thanks for listening.